Welcome to Go for Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. Y'all know my co-host, John. John, how you doing? Wade
Doing
is
okay,
not.
buddy.
Wade is on grandbaby duty tonight, so I wish him well. And tonight we have from the 43rd Infantry, not infantry, 43rd Engineer, Glen Poland. How you doing, buddy?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Another Army guy, son of a
Another
gun.
Army guy.
Another Army guy. No, and so before we get going, right up here at the QR code is Dr. Glum's research. You do it at home. It's a kit she sends you. You do have to go get blood work. And she's the one that helped us get with the ICD codes. I hope everybody will, click on the QR code, scan it, which phone, do whatever you have to do. And let's start getting more people into her research, because this one is really important, because this one is a lot about Desert Storm. And she pretty much just deals with Gulf War illness. And that's what I really love about it. And she will be coming on, I think, December the 3rd or 6th, something like that. That first Thursday when we come back after Thanksgiving, she's going to be on. Glen, let's start getting into your story. And I want to first talk about when you first joined the Army and why on God's green earth you wanted to.
That's a loaded question from a long time ago, but okay. Short and sweet. Coming up on graduation of high school in Plymouth Carver High School in Massachusetts. Dad came over and took me down to the waterfront in his van, and we parked and we had a long talk for about 3 hours. And at the end of that talk, it was basically, you've got two choices: join the military or join the military. So I accepted the second choice. And then we talked about what should I do, and it was a peacetime. What's the odds of some kind of war coming in the 4 years that you're going to put in? Don't worry about it, son. Don't worry about it. The world is in a peacetime right now.
I
So
agree with that.
he encouraged me to take up a trade, which I did, and I went into the Army as a 51 Romeo interior electrician. Went through basic and AIT. Came out the other side. Enjoyed it. Went to South Korea to Camp Humphreys with the 802nd Engineer Battalion for a year, and that was for an 18-year-old boy to go to South Korea, Camp Humphreys. That was party town.
Very interesting times. Very interesting times.
I did learn how to enjoy kimchi, amongst other South Korean things. Excuse me.
Okay, so I got to ask you a question about South Korea. Okay, so I've been to South Korea. And one time I went over there and I thought I was eating a hamburger. But when the doors opened up, there was a whole bunch of cats in cages.
Mhm.
And I was like, did I just eat a cat? In which I'm pretty for sure I ate a cat. But, and then one guy said, no, all they eat is dog. I was like, I didn't eat, God, I hope I didn't eat a dog. But so now I kind of get confused on that. So did they eat both or just more of one?
More of one. The dog.
The dog.
They do.
Okay.
They do. It's really, it's not a rumor. It's true.
Okay. I think I ate dog.
There's a specific market that you would go down the street and there would just be all these dogs in different cages that they breed dogs for that. And there's a
Interesting.
there's a Korean dish called bulgogi, and it's a way of, it's like a barbecue way of making beef. And to add with kimchi and rice and things like that. And so if you go to a restaurant, you have to be very careful about pronouncing it correctly, because it's bulgogi with a B. If you pronounce it with a K, Kgogi, it's dog meat.
Oh, is it a wiener dog, the German Shepherd?
Mutts.
Let me ask, you are by chance, I'm just going to ask a hypothetical because I'm kind of curious. Are you by chance married to a Korean lady, Glenn?
I am not.
You are not. Okay. I was just going to see if I could put two and two together there. I mean, I was never stationed in Korea, but I was curious.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always wondered that, though. I'll be honest with you. I've always wondered that people that got stationed there, because I mean, I'm telling you, I know when that door swung open, there were cats in there, and I saw them, and I'm like, I turned around and I looked at everybody. I was like, I think we just ate cat. So I ordered another one. All right, one, might as well order
I
another.
ordered another one.
It was really good. It's like really sweet. It's really good. And so,
Not too
all right,
far.
we
Not too
now
far.
I'm getting hungry. Now let's get on to the. All right, so
Okay, a year in Korea. But we're here to talk about the Gulf War. So after the year in Korea, I went to Fort Benning for a year, and in Fort Benning with the 43rd Engineer Battalion. We deployed to Honduras, came back. Hurricane Hugo hit South Carolina. We went out there and did relief jobs out there for them, came back. And then the proverbial poop hit the fan over in Kuwait. That was August of 89, right?
yeah, that's why I got there in August.
Right. August of 89 is when it hit when that happened. And then I deployed with the 43rd Engineer Battalion. We went to Kobar Towers. They were empty, just there was nothing in them. Us laying on the floors waiting. They were throwing MREs at us, or once, twice a day, and weren't allowed to leave the building. Stayed in the towers for about 4 days until our equipment came on the port. Then they bussed us over to the port. We all jumped in our equipment, and then me and the armorer, his name is Specialist Detweiler, Moke. Me and him were in a deuce and a half that had no top. Deuce and a half loaded with stuff, no top.
What
It's
the hell is a deuce
January
and a half?
1st.
Hold on, wait. What is
A
a deuce and a half?
2.5-ton truck.
Okay, all right, okay. I was one of the great big ones.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
With no top, it got down to about between about 40 degrees, and we went and did a convoy from the port all the way over to King Khalid Military City. And it took, I mean, if you drive it, it would take like 6 hours. No, this took over like 24 to 26 hours of nonstop convoy, taking our going over there. That was horrible. It rained. We were taking turns just getting down by the gear shift. It had the little rubber thing around it. We pulled it off, and all the heat was coming up from the engine just to keep warm. And so we got there. By the time we got there, we were exhausted. And first sergeant told us to just lay down on the ground and go to sleep, and we did. And I think we slept probably a good 6 hours. And no one, they were just walking over us, me and him. Everyone else was in covered vehicles and having a grand old time apparently. And we got shafted. Anyway, we get to AMC, set up base camp there, and then we start doing our stuff, getting all our stuff together and everything. We don't know what we are preparing for. And that was when, you could say the real desert living began. You as a Spec 4, you're kind of like up at the top there, but not top enough to get out of having to do some of the duties. So spraying the tents with pesticide duty, those cans of pesticides that were like industrial strength with the military writing on it, and don't know what the heck it was. I wish I could find a can of it now because that stuff was insane. Because you sprayed it all over the place like you were told to, but even if you left the tent flaps open and let a breeze come through, it never got rid of that smell, which means those fumes were still there, and we were breathing that. Why did we have to spray the pesticides? Because of the sand fleas. What sand fleas? None of us ever saw them. None of us ever got bit by any sand fleas. So we were like, "What? Why are we doing this?" So there was that.
Well, but y'all did play with scorpions and spiders and stuff like that, right?
Play with them.
Yeah, like I literally had guys tell me that they would have that they would fight each other.
They were
Scorpions,
betting on them.
yeah. Like
I caught one. I cut its stinger off. I tied a string around its tail, and then I tied the other string around the button on my blouse, and I just let him crawl around my shoulders and stuff.
y'all have lost y'all's minds. Y'all
and
have lost y'all's minds.
his name was Pedro.
Pedro.
Now, okay. So I want to go back to when you first got there because I want to stop you, but I'll let you keep going on that. But y'all
Mhm.
were there for 4 days, and you said something that struck me. They gave you 1 or 2 meals a day,
Yeah, MREs.
MREs.
You can't eat 3 of those a day. It's 5,000 calories. It's meant to be a meal for one day.
Really, really, I did
Oh yeah,
not know that.
so we can Google it really quick.
Well, I mean, so when you're out there and it was hot. It was hot during the day, but there were no windows, there were no nothing. Y'all are sitting in it, and so you sweat during the day and freeze during the night.
No, no, no. There were windows and stuff like that, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
so hot during the day that you'd want to close all the windows up to keep it, from getting too hot, but you can't do that. And then at nighttime, it was going to get so cold, you closed all the windows and doors and stuff to try to retain some of the heat in there. But good enough for in Saudi Arabia, it was so hot and the sun was so strong that when it was beating on that building all day long, I mean, it would be midnight. You could walk over and put your hand on a wall and feel heat still radiating from it because it
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
got cooked all day. So it wasn't that bad. It was the convoy from the port to KKMC that really was horrible for me, at least in Moke.
Oh, golly, man, I
Same.
cannot
It's not.
imagine that.
I was in a bus though. I wasn't driving no deuce and a half or the 5 ton. I was riding in a bus, so still colder than shit. But I
I
had
was
comfort.
so miserable, and I wish I had gotten pictures of this. I was so miserable that I was determined that we were going to somehow get cover. And there was a GP medium tent in the back of the deuce and a half in the cargo part of it. And I crawled out and got over there and found it. And I unrolled it and I took 2 ends of it with the ropes. And then I went over Moke. I went back over the window onto the hood, all the way down to the front bumper. And I tied the rope onto the bumper. And I'm telling him, whatever you do, don't do this because you're going to kill me. And I went over to the other side and did the other one. And I had this tarp now was covering us from the rain to try to give us some relief, and the ropes were tied off on there. And so finally, when we got there, because they didn't let us stop, the first sergeant came by and looked at our vehicle, and he says, "Well, what in the hell happened here?" And then we just told him, and he says, "Did you do that while we were driving?" And I said, "Well, you wouldn't stop, so yes."
You had to be a little innovative.
But I was out of my mind at that time. I was massively sleep deprived and cold and shivering. It was like going through, I don't know, some kind of seer program torture.
Oh my gosh, no way, man. I could not imagine 40 degrees, pouring down rain,
Yeah.
and uh,
And couldn't somebody have some compassion and understand and remember that Glenn and Moke don't have a friggin' cover on their damn deuce and a half that they're driving, and we're just sitting out there in the damn 40 degrees and it's
Did you
raining?
piss off? Who did you
Right.
piss off, Glenn, to get stuck with a
I don't
freaking
know.
uncovered deuce and a half?
man, he must have said something on the plane ride over, man. And then they were like, "Yeah, we're putting them 2 buttholes over
You
there." And
guys
that,
or somebody. I don't know what happened there. That's funny.
and so you get over there, and once y'all get there, you're talking about people walking over you. Y'all are sleeping on the ground and everything. How long did it take y'all to get everything set up out there?
To get the base camp set up,
Yeah.
we took probably a good 5 days.
Okay.
But when I say that, I'm saying we're an engineer unit. We've got our own excavators, and we had those. I forgot what they were called. They were a new vehicle at the time, but it was a very small four-wheeled truck vehicle that had like a backhoe that was right on the front of it.
Yeah.
Fold out.
I operated one of those things. They were kind of a little
Alright.
squirrely.
Yeah.
I forget what they were called as well,
They
but yeah, they were new.
They
Yeah.
bounced.
Yeah.
But with all that equipment, we ended up digging a perimeter around our base camp, and we had 40-foot containers that we had set down in the ground, and then put walkways and sandbags and everything. So these were going to be our bunkers, and of course we had layers of sandbags and sand over the top of them. So we had several of these bunkers and a whole security perimeter. Even though we were inside KKMC's land, actually, we were down by the airfield. Even though we were there in King Khalid Military City's property, we still had to do our entire perimeter as if we were in the middle of nowhere for security and berms and bunkers and all this other stuff. So our battalion was absolutely set up there in quite a big section. And so when you would go out our front gate, to our right was another base camp, and those were Jordanians. And then to the left of us was another base camp. And I want to say that they were United Kingdom, English. Because the coalition forces included so many different countries that had different parts that they did. Yeah, set up in King Khalid Military City. We all stayed there. And then that's when we started living the Gulf War syndrome life of, okay, now it's time for everybody to get an anthrax shot. We all remember the anthrax shots. Okay, we all were given these set of pills to keep in our gas masks in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And typically you kept your atropine injector, the one you would, hit your leg if you got, if you needed to. But then there were these pills, and they were called nerve agent antidote pills. We had to keep those in our pouch. Business as usual. Our units were going out, and we were going up to the border of Iraq. And mostly what we were doing is helping the infantry. The infantry would bring in Mikliks, but they needed engineers to set them up and shoot them off. You know what a Miklik is?
No, I was just about to ask.
Miklik is it's a trailer that you would just use a Humvee, and it's a trailer, and the trailer has a rocket on it, and it has bandoliers of explosives all wrapped around it. You fire this thing off, and then it makes an arc, and when it lands, it leaves a trail of those explosives, and then you detonate it, and you just cleared a road. So if there was a minefield there, or if there was some other some concertina wire, whatever obstacles might be in the way, a Miklik will blast it apart, and then you could just drive right through.
Damn, I want one of them.
Yeah.
Damn.
So we had guys up there doing that. I got assigned to the 9th Psychological Operations Group, and they were, as an electrician, I was just basically wiring up everything that they needed. So there was a panel board nearby, and
So
somebody
you
just
probably had a bunch of women in your probably had some women in that group, didn't you?
I don't recall.
Really? Okay. I figured for sure. Usually not. I just kind of assume that type of unit. I damn sure know the medical units have them clearly. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
But what's the psychological for, like, bringing prisoners in, or for the troops?
Not for the troops. Definitely geared toward the enemy.
Okay, and so that's where you were, like a POW, or not, prisoner of war camp, right?
Well, getting to that, as an
Okay.
electrician, I was doing all the electrical systems for the psychological operations, their offices basically, and their systems. So they'd come in with some piece of equipment that was funky, and then just basically they say, "We need power to this," and I'd have to go, "Okay, well, what the hell is it, and what does it need?" And I have to find out. Okay, it needs 10 amps. It's 3-phase, and then I would just go grab the cable and stuff and go hook it up to something I could find. So while I was there, though, I was able to see this was where they were having a lot of these flyers printed out and made and cut up and were in boxes, and these flyers were being brought to the planes, and the planes or helicopters were dropping these leaflets over the enemy, and on it would say, "If you see an American soldier, surrender to him and show him this card, and you will not be harmed." It was an invitation,
Well,
and there was several different ones that they made, and I was able to keep samples. I kept one of each. Was able to bring it back with me. It was kind of neat as my own little thing.
That's pretty cool.
After I was done with that, I got reassigned up to a town called Hafar al-Batin, where we had POW camps. And I was assigned as the POW camp electrician, one of two. And basically, all we had to do was make sure the electrical systems were on and working. If there was ever a problem, go fix it, troubleshoot it, and then do maintenance on the security lighting that went around the camps. There was two of them right next to each other, and they were 20,000 man camps. So one of my daily duties would be go up to the MP checkpoint, check in my weapon, check in my mask, check in my LBE, and then he'd look in my toolbox to see my tools. And then I would just simply walk around the whole entire place, checking the junction boxes and making sure that all the wiring is okay and nothing's been tampered with. And then I was inside of a no man's land, basically. There was concertina wire that was on the outside of the perimeter. Then there was this blank piece of strip of land that had the light poles on them. And then there was another triple strand concertina fencing and stuff. And then that's where the prisoners were on the other side. I could see them.
Yeah, did they have a fair amount or no?
Oh yeah, they were full.
Oh, really?
Really?
They were full. They were full. When they processed them in, they would come in by the truckload, and they would come in and they would go through like stations. You know, they'd be brought in and say, okay, what's your name? Where you're from? Get all the information about you. Okay, your prisoner number 79,000. And then from there, they go on and they're take all their clothes are taken off and thrown away. Then they go through and they take a shower and get clean. And then they get a new set of clothes. And then they get medical check. And then they get dental check. And then they get told what the deal is. And then they're escorted over to an area where there's a tent that has a cot and a blanket and a pillow and a floor mat. And there's hot and cold running water over there for them for toiletries. And they're said, here you go. Welcome to the Holiday Inn Desert Storm. They loved it.
Oh, I'm sure.
They were clean. They were fed. They had prayer mats. They were given all the amenities they need to be treated like decent human beings that they didn't feel like when they were in the Iraqi army. So they were just so happy to be there. Because they were happy, and weren't hateful to us, they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to communicate. You could start, it started with hellos or just little waves or whatever. After a month and a half, that turned into I would go to the MP station to do my usual thing and turn in all my stuff to start my daily round. But what he didn't know was I got about 50 packets of Skittles in my cargo pockets. And so I would go through and then they'd be waiting for me. And then I'd start throwing them over the fence to them.
That's pretty cool. I mean, if you really, really think about it, if I had to be a prisoner of war, I'd want it to be in the United States because they treat them better than what the Iraq would treat you. I mean, if you really, really think about it.
Did you run into any of them, Glenn? Did any of them speak English?
Yes.
Oh yeah, most of
Really?
them. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I helped set up the camps, but I was never around any camps that had prisoners in them.
Now, did you carry a gun while you were doing your perimeter checks on the? Okay.
I had to leave with the MPs.
No kidding.
So I was non-threatening to them anyway.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, but I still would think that they would give you like something, a 45 at least. No,
in fact, an incident did happen, and it was one of my PTSD stuck points, you could say.
Yeah. I mean,
I was out there on a bag, sitting on a sandbag, checking out a box that had gotten dirty from insects, and I was just cleaning it out, sitting on a sandbag, and a Scud missile had landed in Hafar al-Batin, really in the town that we were at, and it knocked me off the damn sandbag I was sitting on, and I just thought, what in the world was that? And then I look up and I saw the big plume, and I was thinking, And I'm looking around and I'm kind of doing this. And then all of a sudden, all the other troops are going like this.
Oh shit. Yeah.
And I'm about a quarter of a mile, if not more, away from the MP station, down on my, it's a 20,000 man camp. I'm on the end of it.
They wouldn't allow you to carry your mask with you?
Nope.
That's crazy.
I mean, well, it's like putting us at the
I
very
think
end of a road.
Absolutely insane right now and at the moment. But
Right.
I was just like, but it's the Army. That's the rule. What is it? You do the MP tells you got to leave all your gear here. You can take your tools and that's it. You got to have t-shirt, pants, boots. Fine.
And here's the one thing, like this is what the Navy does. Right.
Running to try to get
this
gear because everyone's putting on their gear. And I got to put my mask on.
Right. And I'm going to tell you how the Navy does it. Okay. The Navy on shore, you have a seaman recruit that has only a baton down on the brow. So if anybody rushes, onto the ship, that's the first person they're going to run into. Yeah. I don't know what that billy club's going to do for them, but the guys up on the ship are the one that have guns. And I always thought, man, this is ass backwards, man. You would think there'd be guys down on the pier with the gun, and the guy with the billy club might be walking behind them.
Well, see, but in the Navy, the guy down there with the club, he ain't going to hit civilians. He's going to be hitting drunk sailors that are coming back in and being ornery.
That's true.
That's dragged back in.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because that's the way I look at it. Like, they send you out without a gun, without mask, without anything. You're walking the perimeter, knowing that at any time you could be attacked.
Something could happen.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense. That's just, I mean, it's 100% happened because that's the way the Navy thought of it. I always thought, this is ass backwards. I just want you to know you weren't alone. Because
so today, I'm assuming, Glenn, that you had M8 alarm set up somewhere.
Back at our base camp in King Khalid Military City, not at Hafar al-Batin, where I was assigned to there. And there was just since it was maintenance, that kind of thing. There was just a tent in the middle of nowhere with nothing. We didn't have any security. We were not inside the POW camp either. So we were kind of outside the wire as the engineers doing the support stuff. So no, we didn't have that detection stuff, but we did have the detection system on our base camp in King Khalid Military City. We had it there, and there was that day that it went off, and everyone was like, "What?" So we all did it. Holy crap! And everyone did their drill and put the mask on, and then put total up and get into Mop 4. You got all your stuff ready, and then reported out and stood it in formation. And while everyone was trying to figure it out, I was the assistant. I was the assistant operations sergeant, or acting ops sergeant, because our ops sergeant got deployed to go somewhere else, so they needed someone else, and they just got me. So I had the M256 kit on my hip as part of my gear. It was part of my TA-50, one of the NBC guys. So battalion NBC apparently tells the company NBCs, go ahead and deploy your 256 kits and see what you come up with. And so, okay, I went into my thing and I pulled it up. I don't know if you remember how you do this thing. You slide the thing over and you squeeze the ampule, and you got to hold it upside down and shake it. And you got to wait a minute. Then you got to turn around and do this one. And it's just like this whole, thing. I don't remember exactly how to do it, but that kit. So I did it, and it did come up purple, which was hot for nerve agent. So then they say, do another one. So I put it down, grab the other one out of the thing, rip it open. It's sealed, the whole 9 yards. It came up hot for nerve agent. Put it down. I got one more in there. There's only 3 in this kit. So then they tell me, go back to the operations tent and go get a new set, a new lot number kit, a whole kit. And I did. Come back, opened it up. This time we pulled one out, and they wanted to inspect it, and I inspected it, and everybody said, do we all agree this is sealed? Yes. tear it open, do the kit, do the whole thing. Hot nerve agent, putting it down. Nobody knows what to do, so they just reported it all back to the command. Whoever they were reporting it to, the company commander, I'm sure, had to report it back to the battalion commander. Battalion commander had all the 3 companies reporting to him. He was probably talking with some other people outside. So, then they're calling the Jordanian guys to our right and asking them, hey, you guys having any problems over there with anything that might be chemical? And they're like, nope. All right, that's the Brits. No, we'll come find out the Brits didn't even have any chemical detection. Neither did the Jordanians.
That doesn't surprise me.
So what they were telling us was, well, it must be diesel fuel fumes from the digging of all the fuel and the JP4 and all of the other airfield fuels that have been dumped in the ground where we had our base camp must be causing this test kits to do this. That's what I was told. And then they gave everybody all clear. So we did the all clear. Now, at that point, there wasn't a massive exodus of people getting sick immediately or anything even close to it. But my battle buddy, Michael Odell, a few hours after this incident, and everyone was going back to our tents to relax, he had an episode. He all of a sudden couldn't breathe. It was scary as hell, and I dragged him to the medic tent. And I want to say they gave him epinephrine, and then he was okay. And then they sent him off to a hospital, and he got checked out at the hospital, and everything was okay. I'm like, dude, what happened? Did you have a heart attack? What was that? Doesn't know. Didn't know.
Yeah, they probably chalked it up as anxiety. Knowing back then, the docs back then.
Could have been.
you
Could have been.
know,
I don't know.
that's
I don't
crazy.
know, but I can't find a correlation between the 2 things. I can't find a correlation between the alarm detection systems going off and then us 256 kits coming up hot for nerve agent. I can't find the correlation between that and what happened with Mike, because it only happened to Mike. It didn't happen to me, and it didn't happen to anybody else that was around me that I knew of. It could have happened to several people not around me that I don't know of, but from what I observed at the time, I can't connect the 2 together.
Yeah, and I mean, I know our chemical alarms went off. They were just like, all clear. And then they,
So since you're
go ahead.
no, so Glenn, since that time, have you been in contact since your time in the Gulf with the personnel around you that have problems today?
No, I haven't. And to be honest with you, I don't have any contact with anybody from that time. I tried to
Okay.
contact with Mike Odell, but he kind of went off grid. So no, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of people that went off grid after Desert Storm. I mean, there's
Yeah, and it's concerning me because maybe that's got a lot to do with it.
that
It was another point I was going to bring up, but yeah.
yeah, no, it's very true, because I mean, I know guys personally that they won't even talk to me about it. And I mean, to me, I talk about it every week. Heck, I talk about it every day. And I want people to understand that yes, we had 100-hour war, but really, truly, it started back up again about another year later, or a year and a half later. They start acting up again. So I mean, it's just crazy. And
Oh
so
yeah, I remember I was going to bring up John. You mentioned after the event, and something triggered in my mind, wondering if you were going to go in this train of thought, but it wasn't until 1997 that Kevin knows what I'm going to talk about. That I got a letter from the government basically saying, we had something that happened in a town called Kamayatsu, and we blew up a bunch of ammunition there and didn't know that it was these were WMDs, and that they were filled with cyclosarin and sarin nerve agent. And when we blew it up, it made a huge plume and it went right over your unit. And then again in 2005, I got a letter from them even confirming that further.
Yeah, I
And,
think it was 2005 when I got my letter. Yeah.
and now, have y'all received the new letter that they said they sent out again? Or I guess they sent it out to more people, right?
Probably.
Okay, yeah. I think it was like they added people to that list. And I mean, and that's just it, like Wade always says, we're always trying to find the common denominator. We're not going to know. We took so much stuff. So there was so much out there that we're just never going to know. But
No.
I mean, one thing about it is a lot of people, uh, a lot of people are at least now talking about it. Like now it's being really discussed through, because of social media. And he got the same letter Michael did.
Hmm.
And I mean, and that's just the problem right there is I I wish the DOD would just unclassify everything that had to do with any type of chemical stuff and release it to the public. I wish they would. I know they won't.
Well, you
I
remember
just-
the second time that we went in there, right?
And
All right, so
that
we
was
had Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and that
right.
was
And,
information great, and it was fine, right?
right.
So then we went back in to get
Eh,
out Saddam. What's the timeline?
Well, you talking about since Iraqi freedom? Or are you talking about since Desert Storm?
Since Desert Storm.
I mean, that was what
And because and I don't know myself, when did that all transpire?
about 10 years later.
But do you remember there was all this news hype about with President Bush about he's hunting for the weapons of mass destruction. There aren't any, and everyone's
Oh
all this
yeah.
conspiracy, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
All I want to do is
Yeah.
take those letters that we got and shove it in their faces and say, "What in the hell are you talking about? There were weapons of mass destruction there. Our own troops and the CIA and the Marines who were in Kamayatsu blowing that stuff up, they didn't even have the ability to recognize what it was, let alone that it was there until after the fact. So you're going to search for something that you can't even identify? And
All
don't tell me
right.
it wasn't there because I got the letter that tells me I was exposed to what was there, and that weapon of mass destruction."
Mhm.
Right. And we released the pictures that people took over during Desert Storm. It's like, and that's the one thing about it is that everybody who was like, they don't have weapons of mass destruction. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And I'm like, and our chemical alarms were false. I agree, and that's
Yeah.
the
Right.
thing,
It was
you know,
diesel fuel.
and
Right.
How
right. And,
stupid are
and,
we?
and so a guy, was it you? Who was it that sent me the letter from the VA that was a questionnaire? What was that you, Glenn, that sent me
No,
that? Okay,
no.
so I received the exact same letter as when I first got back, and the VA automatically calls me up. I'm going up for an appointment. I'm like, what the hell for? I didn't ask for this appointment. They told me I was going. So I went up there, and the first thing they did was hand me this document, and they wanted me to sign it, question it. Like I was check off, I was not exposed to any chemical warfare. I was not exposed to this, and sign it. And that doctor ripped that out of my hand. He goes, "Do not sign that." And I was like, hey, so somebody sent me it, and I was like, that's the same questionnaire.
Yeah, I
Same
got it.
thing.
I got that questionnaire that you're talking about. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and that
I
was
didn't. No, I'm not signing that. No.
I
Yes, I
didn't
was.
sign anything. I
I got
was like,
letters.
yeah, like not like you can make me, even though you're a government entity, you're no, I'm in the civilian side of it now. And I mean, and I remember a lot of Vietnam guys would tell me, whatever you do, don't sign anything up at the VA unless you read it very carefully. But
Mhm.
back then, the VA system wasn't like it is now. At least the VA system now, to be honest with you, if everybody remembers, how many years did it take for the VA to finally come out and say, were you exposed to any type of exposure, toxic exposures? Like, dude, I've been telling you this for 30 years that the oil well fires in this. Right.
Does stirring poop with diesel fuel fire? I mean, does that count?
Mhm.
Well, there we go. Another stirring the poop. I didn't bring that up, John. I did not bring up stirring the poop. I did not. I wasn't even going to
Yeah.
ask that
Well,
question.
and,
Stirring the poop wasn't the bad part.
and,
The bad part was having to reach in there and pull that damn thing out and drag it.
Oh, absolutely not.
We
Absolutely
didn't,
not.
we didn't even have
I had
chains.
gloves, so you know,
Oh man,
Oh,
we
did you have your
it wasn't no fun.
concertina
Yeah.
bug?
Well, no, I mean we had hell, I used my NBC gloves for that shit. Yeah, and then just threw them in the damn fire when I was done. You know.
and I mean it is. It's the one thing that I try to explain to everybody and make them understand. I enjoyed my time. I would do it all over again. Even what I know now, I would all over again. I would, because the friendships that I made, that I still keep in contact with almost everybody I served with in our circle. And
Wow.
I mean, we still have reunions. We have a great time. And we sit and we talk. And I mean, lo and behold, these are people that, do I recommend y'all never saying this? And I'm saying it low because my wife's in the other room, is never tell your spouse that when you're in the military it was the best 4 years of your life. But it was different. It was a different time of year than what I was used to.
I loved it.
I did too.
Still loved it.
Me too. The structure of it. I mean, there's not a day I don't think about it. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about it. I think more about it whenever the Veterans Day comes, 4th of July, and all that stuff. It brings up, like, the good memories of the friendships. And meeting foreign troops, that was really cool, man. Meeting troops from other countries,
Yeah.
even though you couldn't understand what they were saying, I'm sure they were making fun of us for having a baton. It just never made sense to me. Why we had a baton. You know, I'm going to bitch
What
about that for the rest of my time.
Mhm.
so Glenn, I'm kind of curious. So we never really touched on this, and I know we're getting near the end, but humor me, if you will, when upon return, maybe it happened during, maybe it happened after. At one point, did you realize that you were having some sort of symptoms that you couldn't understand?
Me, I didn't physically have any symptoms for myself, but the first sign that told me something wasn't quite right was when my second son was born. My first son was conceived before I went, and my second son was conceived after I went. My second son was born with um, some I can't defects, not massively, not horribly, but he is very different from his brother in terms of health. My second son, when he was born, one of his eyes was off and had to have an operation to bring it back. Something to
Hmm.
do with something in there. He has a he was allergic and very colicky for his stomach and types of formulas and mother's milk and all. It's just horrible. He would puke all the time. Um, he was definitely smaller, and he also had allergies, a lot of allergies. I don't have any allergies. My first son doesn't have any allergies. Their mother doesn't have any allergies. Chris had allergies. Then Chris also came up with a genetic, there's a genetic condition. I'm going to get this wrong, called G6PD. I don't have it. My ex-wife didn't have it, and our first son didn't have it, but Chris does. So him having all of these health issues, and Jason, I hear you. The first son having all these, the first son having no health issues at all, none. He was fine. And then the second one having all of these issues. Now, what's the difference? What's the common denominator or the uncommon denominator? Is that I went to the Gulf War in between.
Now, I want
Yeah.
to bring this back up. I'm bringing this up, John. I want to ask people in the chats, and I want
Yes,
people
lots of bright
to
people.
I want people to comment on this. I'll tell you what's weird. My daughter, you know, my firstborn, he's fine, but my daughter, I don't know about a lot of people, but when I saw this, it made me think about she was on the nebulizer, and she's had pneumonia more than anybody. I guarantee you, out of her childhood, out of the first 18 years, 16 years, every year she get pneumonia. 16 times as a kid. And she always ran fevers, always allergic to everything. And I'm Glenn, I'm glad you brought that up, man. I'm really glad you brought that
I
up.
think that this Gulf War syndrome is going to end up being not in my lifetime. They're going to figure it out, and they're going to
Yeah.
see that there was something that happened genetically to our cells as a result of all the things that we were exposed to, as a mixture of things that had some long-lasting effects on the individual, but maybe even long-lasting effects on our genealogy, on our children.
Yeah, and grandchildren, and
Yeah, I'm a little
I agree
surprised,
with that.
Glenn, that you didn't tell me that the wife, the wife at the time who gave birth to your second son. I'm a little surprised you didn't tell me that she had problems, because my daughter was the same. She was conceived after I returned, and she has problems. She has POTS. She had, there's a multitude of things, no physically, but from the day she was born, she had stomach issues, and we were in Germany at the time. So I was deployed while I was in Germany. So yes, there's a lot of kids out there, a lot of spouses. If you happen to be married to the same individual, at the time that you were in the storm, a lot of the spouses have issues if you're a guy, you transferred to seaman. I don't know about the women. I know the women that were there, a lot of them have problems. A lot of our children have
I think,
problems.
yeah.
So,
I'm with you on that, John, 100%. We are getting closer to the end. So, is there anything else you'd like to bring up, Glenn? You have anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I think I just wanted to stress that my story, like many other of you that have the same story, is that you can list them out. What did you have? The pesticides in the tent, burning poop, um, the anthrax vaccination that they all had everybody taking a line one day, the nerve agent antidote pills that we didn't know what the heck they were, but we all took them because they told us to after the NBC alarms went off that one time, and they said it was false alarm. But go ahead and take the pill. Exposures to that.
Oh, well, fires,
Yep.
sarin mustard gas alarms going off. I mean, it's just such a
there's a
multi exposure.
multitude of things. You can't pinpoint any one thing. There's
No,
too
not
many
right.
variables.
Right. There's so
Oh, but
many.
in a moment, and just in a heartbeat, I would trade not being exposed to all of those things for a bullet wound.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Or give me a bullet wound. At least I got something I can look at. I don't know what all this other stuff is, and I don't know what the heck it did to me.
I mean, that
You know what? If I got a bullet through my arm, at least I could see the scar and know that I survived it and know what it is.
that- okay, and the arm. Okay,
Sure.
maybe.
Oh,
Maybe not. Absolutely freaking not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
bullet.
right. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of people that's going to agree to that. And so now that we're getting closer to the end, I have had a lot of emails. I'm going to once stress again about Dr. Glum's QR code up here. If you're listening, scan that, go in. It's an at home, in your own house kit that they send to you. You do a few of that way. Yeah, I like the way you did that, Glenn. And they do. You do at home. They do calls and they talk to you. I mean, it's so easy, and they're very professional. That's one thing I will say. They are very professional. And so we're about to hit the after show. But if you'd like to contact me, contact me at Kevin Simon at goforsideeffects.com. Kevin Simon at goforsideeffects.com. I appreciate everybody listening. And then when we go into the after the show, this is where you can go watch it at patreon.com/go4sideeffects. Okay. And there is where we get to go in and talk about anything we want, say anything we want. And it's just, a lot, we get some weird stuff, very weird topics sometimes. Carrots.
Yeah. So in other words, when we say goodbye, hang tough, Glenn, we're going to have another
Yeah.
conversation. So
John smiled when I said carrots. All right, everybody, y'all have a great evening, and we will see y'all next week. And and next week, but right before we get off, there's going to be Colonel Frank again, and with guests. And so we'll talk more of that during the week. I'm going to kind of get with everybody and let everybody understand what we're going to be doing next week. It's going to be that show is going to be, Glenn. That's one that where the POWs probably came down. That's one that you're going to want to listen to. That it's going to be interesting. So everybody have a great night, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you very much.
see everybody.